And then, of course, let me make sure I'm in the right key.
Oh, no.
I feel good.
You feel good about that? You feel good about that? Oh, boy.
Rhett Walker,
you have no idea what you're in for.
Whenever you're ready,
All right.
we're ready.
I forgot to move this back over.
Oh, there we go.
If your pain is heavy and pain keeps pulling you back, if you've looked for answers that the world don't have, come on down to the tent revival. Come and wade in the water blue. Come and feel that heavenly fire falling down on you. Say goodbye to the worn and weary. Say hello to the brand new you. Hear that gospel song playing on and on, sticking to your soul like glue. Say goodbye to the sin that held you. Feel that love, wash it all away. You can let it go and say hello to the power of Jesus' name. Hey, hey, you can walk in freedom. You can dance on the solid rock. You can rest in the victory that Jesus already won. Come on down to the tent revival. Come and wade in the water blue. Come and feel that heavenly fire falling down on you. Say goodbye to the worn and weary. Say hello to the brand new you. Hear that gospel song playing on and on, sticking to your soul like glue. Say goodbye to the sin that held you. Feel that love, wash it all away. You can let it go and say hello to the power of Jesus' name. Hey, hey, hey. When the sun sets free is free indeed. When the sun sets free is free indeed. No, there ain't no chain gonna tie these feet. When the sun sets free is free indeed. Y'all ready? Say goodbye to the worn and weary. Say hello to the brand new you. Hear that gospel song playing on and on, sticking to your soul like glue. Say hello to the sin that held you. Feel that love, wash it all away. You can let it go and say hello to the power of Jesus' name. Hey, hey. The power of Jesus' name.
Woo!
When did you have the light bulb moment? Like, I want to perform, I want to be a rock star, I want to pin the bed sheet in the bedroom and make a backdrop and make videos and stuff. Do you remember the light bulb moment of like, I want to do that?
Yeah. I think I was 11 or 12. And we started going to shows. And my dad, he sang in quartets and he led worship at the church while he was in seminary, and then would also preach and stuff. And he took me to shows. He was like, look, if y'all want to do music to me and my sister, I will always take you to shows. Like we'll pursue music. And he would buy guitars, and my mom bought me a drum set. And so I started watching shows and I was like, this is exactly what I want to do. So on my 14th birthday, I asked for a video camera for Christmas that my aunt got me, and would get my mom, I homeschooled, so after school, I'd get my mom to film music videos for me. So she would stand at the bottom of the stairs, and like I'd come around the top during like the verse, you know, the slow motion moment, and hang my bed sheets on the walls. And then for my birthday, I'd ask for lights. So I had like a cop light going on. It was awesome. No one came to my shows though.
Where are those videos now?
My parents have them.
Do they really have
Yes,
them?
they do.
And give me a couple songs that you're like, I'm going to make a rock video, Mom, and we're going to do this one.
I think I did 2 versions to In the Light by DC Talk. There's two different versions. One was more amped up. One was more like, personal, Rhett, like kind of in the camera. But also would make up my own songs to like the music of other songs. So
Like Weird Al?
yeah, but they were just really dumb songs.
Okay.
Like a lot of them to like Blink-182 music, just about whatever. And my parents have those, and they've threatened to put them out before. So that's kind of scary.
I would enjoy that if they did that. Before I move on, so DC Talk was a big deal to you.
That was the biggest band to me.
And have you had opportunity in your career to interact with them?
Yeah.
What was that like when you had your, you're hanging out with your heroes now?
So I've met all of them many a times, but I've never gotten over it. Like they are like music and why I wanted to do music. So met Toby and met Michael. We did stuff with the Newsboys before, which was awesome to do that. And he lived up to everything I was hoping he would be. He did like 3 wardrobe changes during the day. And I was like, that is awesome too. I don't think I have enough clothes to do that. So I've just started going to the bathroom, taking off my clothes and putting back the same outfit on, but pretending it was a wardrobe change.
Yes.
And then I met Toby, and he was very, very encouraging. He was like, man, I love your stuff. He was like, When Mercy Found Me was a killer song. And he was like, dude, I love the new song. Talked about Say Hello. And I was like, dude, he listens to Rhett Walker Band. Like so that to me, it never gets old.
Could you show him one of those videos and be able to sit through it?
No, there's no way.
Okay.
There's no way I could do that.
Well, we've had our producers behind the scenes go ahead and reach
Oh,
out to your parents. So let's go ahead and no, I'm kidding. Dad was a pastor. What do you remember Dad saying? What resonated with you if you look back on that now? You heard him preach probably several times.
Yeah.
What do you remember?
Well, he's said many a times things that I repeat to my kids, which is if you keep God first and you push on, like I will always help. I will always help provide. I will help push you, but you got to keep God first and pursue that. And so I've told my kids, like, to kids as a dad, there's nothing they could ever do where that could change my love for them. Nothing. Like, they amaze me every day at what they are and who they are and their love for other people and their love for their mom and dad and God. But if they will work hard, like I will always help push. And my dad's always been that guy. When I first started, my mom and my dad, not just my dad, he booked shows when I first started at, what was the name of the place? Mi Ranchos. It was like a little Mexican joint, but they had like a big deck outside and they would have bands play. And so my dad was booking shows at that to like help me get on the road because he was like, dates look good to labels and to booking agents if you can have like dates on your calendar. So then my dad and my mom went and got cash out the bank and took it to Mi Ranchos and was like, pay Rhett this. So I was like getting guarantees like from these restaurants or whatever.
So you'd have all these dates. They're just at the same place.
Yeah. No, there was 4 Mi Ranchos, I think, in Augusta, and we played all of them.
Wow.
So, but he was then like, going and giving the cash to the place that would then pay me, or I would think I was getting paid.
You saw that, or you found out about that?
I found out later.
How'd
I
that
just
make you
thought
feel?
Oh, it was awesome.
Yeah.
And, the way my mom and dad have like pushed, for me to be music and to help me in my career. My dad got, like, I remember right when he moved to the church he's at now, like he got like some money or whatever after being there for so long and just a thank you. And my mom was like, we're going to go buy Rhett a drum set and we're going to go buy Courtney, my sister, this. And they're my biggest supporters and my biggest fans still.
I love that.
Yeah.
Do you, at the time we're recording this, you got a 13-year-old, 12-year-old,
Today.
5-year-old.
Yep. 2.5 week.
Was there a 7 in there?
No, I hope
Okay.
not. Is there? I hope there's not another kid.
Do you see them doing stuff that you did at that age?
Oh yeah. My son loves music, and he just learned Sweet Home Alabama on guitar, and that's what I'm saying. Like I don't think I was playing guitar that good then, but he's passionate about it. And like my 13-year-old, she just learned "This Is Me," and she's singing it at like a little talent show that the church is doing. And then Audie, my 5-year-old, like she's got a little iPad where she can text me now, so she's always sending me videos of her doing dances. And so she was showing me her shuffle the other day.
Oh,
so,
the
yes,
shuffle.
It was awesome.
Now, are you jealous by that? Because there's not a lot of dancing in your show, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, well, I'm learning. But the funny thing is she watches enough like kids' YouTube videos. She ends her text videos with, "So, love you, Dad. Subscribe and like below."
She's telling you how to do it.
Yeah, so I'm learning marketing from her.
So you fall in love with your high school sweetheart. You end up marrying her.
Yep.
You have a baby together. Did the reality switch click when you got the news, or did it take you still a little while afterwards to be like, wow, this is what life is like now?
Yeah, it was. I mean, we just had our fourth, and it's still, you're like learning, like, okay, this is our new normal with like a baby. Also, I love kids. I think kids are they're fun, and they don't stress about the world, and the anxiety's not there, and they're just living their life. I think I forgot how much a newborn screams, so reminder on that one. But yeah, it was different because I was 17, she was 18, and we didn't plan to have a baby. I mean, I still had my senior year of high school, and so I had to go to work. And so I did my senior year of high school by homeschooling, and my wife did my work for me, and my GPA went up. But got that, and then I had to go work a job.
What'd you do?
I ended up getting a job for the city, which was great when I turned 18. But before that, I worked at Publix, and I delivered pizzas for Pizza Hut, and I worked at a daycare.
What'd you do at the daycare?
Just cleaned up, helped out, but played with kids outside.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I did anything I could to make cash, to make money.
How was mom and dad's reaction when they got that news?
My mom kind of felt like she already knew. Like she wasn't surprised. And my dad, he's like, you don't have to marry her, but you'll forever take care of her and that kid. And I was like, no, I want to marry her. So my dad was like, go get her.
Did he do the wedding?
He did.
Yeah.
And none of us, all of us could barely make it through it. Because my dad's halfway crying. I'm scared to death standing on stage because there was no performances then. Like they were in my bedroom with a sheet hanging on the wall and me filming them. I'd never like performed out. So I was scared. I remember.
Did you sing at your wedding?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay.
I was just standing there.
Oh, okay.
But I remember thinking my pants got to be moving like this because my legs inside of my pants were like just shaking. And then, then we got married and had a kid not long after that. But from the day we started like actually dating to the day we got married was like 2.5 months. So it all happened quick.
First performance in front of a substantial group of people.
Yeah. So my first like leading singing. So when we went to Gatlinburg, me and April, right after we got married, and I think it was a Tim McGraw song or something, and I was just singing it while driving. She was like, you can actually sing. And I wasn't the singer. My sister is incredible. My dad's a singer. Me and my mom were listeners, and I played drums. So we're leading worship. We're planning to lead worship the weekend, and I was supposed to play drums, and they're like, hey, we want you to come off and sing Todd Agnew's Grace Like Rain.
Wow.
And so I was like, okay, I've never sang. I was scared half to death. Like scared half to death. And then when you get scared half to death, you start having like the dumbest of thoughts. And I'm like, dude, what if people like decide they hate church after this because it's that bad? They're like, you know what? I'm not a Christian anymore. I'm never going to church because Rhett was that bad. So I sang it, and then my mom was sitting on the front row, and she loves on everybody more than anything. And she kind of gave me that, what I knew, the just being sweet church lady, when you meet the people, it's like, oh, bless your heart. Like, she gave me that. She was like, oh, you sang great. Like, don't do that. You're my mom. Like, so
I want some honesty. I want some
yeah.
truth.
So I knew it had to have been bad if she was giving me the bless your heart mom kind of thing. So, but they never let me go back. So either I was actually good at it or I was just that bad of a drummer that they just didn't want me to go back to drums.
Let's fast forward to the first record. Who found you, or what's the story there? Were you diligent with, I want to be on a record label? Like, what happened there?
Yeah, so when I moved to Nashville, so I didn't want to move to Nashville because we'd moved like 7 times already, me and my wife. So anytime a church, like I would get offers from churches and like to lead worship.
You're leading worship now.
I'm leading worship.
Okay.
And we ended up in Shelby, North Carolina. My dad, one of his friends was a pastor of a church and needed a worship leader. And Shelby was where I was born.
Okay.
So we ended up right back to where I was born. And it was at Christopher Road Baptist Church. And great people. And I'd been feeling the need to I felt like God was telling me to move to Nashville and take the next step. And me and God were having that conversation, which is funny, we do it with him, like you start negotiating with God. And I was like, I'll pray about it to you again. I don't know, So you're like doing these fake prayers like, Lord, put a pink car out front if I'm supposed to go. It's just all these things. I'm just really trying to prolong it. And I'm like, I can't ask my wife to move again. Like we're finally settled. And my mom, she goes, have you ever thought about moving to Nashville? I was like, oh my gosh. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to try to find a job. I'm going to send out 2 emails to 2 churches that I'd found. And I'm not going to tell them my background of leading worship. And I'm just going to say, do you need a worship leader? 2 weeks later, we're moving to Nashville, like that quick. And so I just told them, I said, find me a house to rent, like near the church, because I don't know the area, and we'll go from there. So my mom's prayer for me during that time, I forget the scripture right now offhand, but it was that we would grow and prosper like cedars of Lebanon is the verse. So we moved there. The church is in Lebanon, Tennessee. And we roll in and the sign says Cedars of Lebanon. And I was like, thank you. That's just a cool confirmation.
There's your big pink car in the front of the house, right?
And I think it's those little moments where God is like, I know you need this. So here's the confirmation. So I did an EP with a guy named Seth Jones, who is in town, whose wife, Betsy Jones, worked for, I forget what label it was, but I kind of got to know them, and we did an EP. And I signed up for, maybe it's Indie Vision or something that you pay $25 for, and they put your little EP up there. And just so happened that Blaine Barkus at Provident, where I'm at now, got those emails because they would do an Artist of the Month thing.
Okay.
And they made my EP like the EP of the month and me Artist of the Month. I don't know why. And so he calls. Like he got my number somehow or my email. He calls and I'm like, Sony, Provident. I told my wife, I was like, this is it. Like, here we go. So I go meet with him and he's like, man, I really like what you're doing. He's like, tell me about yourself. So I did. And he was like, cool, keep at it. It's like, that's it. He was like, yeah, write songs and just send them to me, And I was like, okay. So I did and ended up writing Come to the River, which I sent that way. And he was like, this is it. Let's go. And
so for people who don't know that world, here's a contract. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what you're going to do.
Yeah. So
and that was,
forever.
We're going to make a full record.
Yes.
And, studio and.
They sign you for a couple records or 3 records. And so then you really, they kind of put the gas on. It's like, hey, we'd love for you to write with this person, or here's your studio date. Like it's time to go for it.
Were you still leading worship at the time? Or did
no.
you?
So I had left the church I was at just due to circumstances that I didn't necessarily agree with, and was doing great. And not that it's about the money, but I was making the most money I'd made from being a 17-year-old kid with a baby to working his way up and no college. Me and my wife felt settled. I didn't agree with things that were going on, so I left. which in my world, growing up with my dad, you don't leave a job unless you have another job. Like,
Yeah.
but I felt like I was supposed to leave that place. So the bookstore at the outlet mall needed help. And so I went there and started working until I could find something. And super humbling too, because I felt like everybody in that town decided to start reading. So everybody I knew came in there and was like, what are you doing in here? But I was there for probably 2 months, and then I got a record deal. And so I just tried to stay diligent and taking care of my family, but also like chasing the dream of being a musician, you know? And so got the record deal and put out a record.
Who was the first person you played the finished product to? Like,
My
you
wife.
wanted their opinion.
Oh, yeah. Well, my wife and my kids, and then I don't think I played it really for anybody else before it went out.
Not for
I
mom and
kinda-
dad?
No, I played it for, my close family. But I held it real close. Because there was part of me that, like, this is like really, really good. I can't believe I did this. Like, I've not bragging, but like, oh my gosh, this came out great, you know? And me and the producer kind of held it close, and then it went out. And I think it kind of helped that I was oblivious to how radio worked, because I was just like, cool, I guess people will play it. We'll see. I don't know. If they either will or they won't, you know? And the first single just was When Mercy Found Me and took off.
Some big things happened during that record. I mean, it was successful.
Yeah.
But you were getting looks from outside of Christian music, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so I was 24 years old. Was that 6 years ago, 2012? Yeah. So I was 24, 25 years old and just along for the ride. Because the single came out, got nominated for a Grammy, and then Bob Lefsetz did a big letter on it.
I remember that.
Yep.
Okay.
And so,
And for people who don't know who he is, kind of the guru of the music world.
yeah, he really is.
And he's opinionated, and people
You either love him or hate him.
smoke what he's selling.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And he wrote something. He heard your song.
Yeah, and I was walking into Family Video, and my phone started blowing up. They still had rental stores. So I was walking in there to pick out a video or movie, and the people started blowing up my phone, and I read it. Because I got the Lefsetz letter. Like, I still am subscribed to it. And he's the guy that Taylor Swift wrote the song about, and he just goes on and on, like, found this guy and this record. I love it. It's great. And so then everybody started, like, paying attention real quick, which is cool. It was awesome. And I feel like it's crazy. They're still playing When Mercy Found Me.
Did that turn into anything? That attention?
Well, yeah. I mean, we got Opry performances off of that. We've played the Opry 9 times now. But it didn't turn into like a tour or anything with anything, but just opened up a lot of opportunities to play other places on TV and do stuff like that.
Did you go tour with anybody out of the ordinary back then? I'm trying to remember. Did you stay in Christian world, or did you dip your foot?
No, we stayed in the Christian world on tours, but we had a single on the second record that went to country radio, and like Southern rock, kind of mid-America type stuff. But no, I ended up right after my first tour was acoustic. Then the single was coming out during that, and then I did the road show. So, which was incredible, because I went from no shows, acoustic for Fireflight and Cutlass, to arenas. And it was incredible. I remember my first night going out there. We had 4 songs.
Okay.
And so we opened with Gonna Be All Right, and then Come to the River. Then I did Simple Man, and then we ended with When Mercy Found Me. And it said on the screens behind us, it said Walker, just kind of had the Rhett Walker Band symbol, and then said Walker. And during Simple Man, it would all go red, white, and blue, and would say America. So it was awesome. And that was one of the funnest tours I've ever been on.
Simple Man, was it a personal thing? Was it you sound like them, you could use this to get some more, metaphorical money in the bank with fans, or what was the reasoning there?
Well, it had the third verse to me has always been big. It says, forget your lust for the rich man's gold. All that you need now is in your soul. Like, dude, that's a great lyric. It
Yeah.
holds a lot of weight, but it's so easily saying, but man, forget your lust for the rich man's gold. So it was always a reminder for me of like, I started off doing this because of that, Welcome to the Freak Show VHS tape and like these bands that I loved, but the meaning behind it, which is why I signed up for Christian music, why I wanted to do that. And I just really believe in a really, really crappy world, people need hope. They need hope, and they want to be reminded that there's still peace out there.
It's time for album number 2.
Yep.
Do you have a little meeting with yourself like, okay, here's what I learned from the first one, here's how we're going to do the second one differently, or were you on a roll and let's just keep the ball rolling?
Yeah, we wrote most of the second record on the road. And so we took everything out of the bus trailer, would set up a studio, and we're recording like full band demos on the road. And then when it came time, we went with Paul Moak, who did the first record, and started to do the second record. But that is also when things were kind of like, man, I don't know, do we just go rock, or do we go, country, or do we go pop? Because there was all these like different avenues that we were doing, because especially with the Grammy nomination, we were doing these Grammy parties and these other things. So it was like, hindsight's 2020 now, because it was like a faith-based song, When Mercy Found Me, got us here. Mm-hmm. But now that we're here, it's like, do we say Jesus as much as we did last time, or do we need to like change the way we do things? And it's so dumb looking back now, like, why was that even a conversation? Like, just write music and keep doing what you're doing. So the second record had a lot of ifs, ands, and buts kind of going on with it. Still super proud of that record and what it stood for, and I think it's a great record still.
Who would you talk to back then if you needed advice to go, we've got multiple versions of our band floating around in here. Who should we do? Who'd you lean on?
I really didn't have anybody.
No.
It was me and the band. And so what people don't understand too is when you travel, it's a family. And so when you're rolling all together, it can easily be, I don't like that guy. I don't like him either. I don't know why, I just don't like that guy. You told me you don't like that guy. And so next thing you know, you're so far down the line that you're like, how did I get here? Mm-hmm. Like, why don't I like this anymore? Why am I angry with this? Like, no one's slighted me. No one's mad at me, but I feel like the world doesn't like me. And so there's a lot of like insecurity that comes with that, because then you're also creating art, and there's no telling if anybody's going to like it. Your mom and dad might not even like it. It's like, it's art, So there's just all these like things just kind of going around in your head that, one, you're hoping it'll pay the bills. You're hoping that people will like it and radio will play it. You're hoping that the message has come across and that you haven't started writing a song and in your own mind you're processing it. By the time you're at the end of the song, no one knows how you got there. So you're hoping like people can understand what you're even trying to get across and that it's good.
From an outside perspective, the second record wasn't as successful. Like, it felt like the first one had some momentum. Yep. Here comes that sophomore, whatever. Did that play a role in, at the end of the second record cycle of like, all right, now what?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So first single went out, and it got a ton of views on YouTube. It was like 100,000 views in that one day. And I was like, okay, so that's not just us and our parents. People are going to dig it. Didn't work at radio, so they went for the next single. All the while we're touring and just staying gone nonstop. And so everything just started to pile on. And so then the second record went number 1 on iTunes, and it was cool and enough to like that people, we still had fans and they loved us. But in our heads, I think everything was just like just getting to us. So that's why I was like, I'm just pausing. Like, I'm not doing this. I'd rather stay home and lead worship.
Now, how did you tell anybody that in your circle, I'm going to hit the pause button now?
I think for the band and for our families, it made sense.
Okay.
No one really spoke it out loud, but we quit taking as many shows or just wouldn't respond, and it was just kind of silent. And started, just playing around, making new music and doing that thing. And so I think it finally came in, I guess it was the fall of 2016. It was like October, November. And I went to our pastor and I was like, hey, if y'all, because they had asked me before if I wanted to lead worship there. And so I was like, hey, if y'all are still looking for somebody, sign me up. Like, I'm in. And I just quit taking shows, just led worship. And it was the best thing. It was the best thing. Because it's my home church.
Okay.
So no one cares about any Rhett Walker Band thing. I mean, they support me and they love me, but I'm Rhett, like with the family and the kids running around, and I lead worship, which I actually love dearly that it's like that. And so I was able to just kind of take off any mask that you put on when you walk into a certain room, or I was just me, Rhett with April and the 4,000 kids we have. And so it was great, man. I led worship. I led other people's stuff. I dove into like hearing new music and like what the community was wanting to hear, talking with people at our church who were going through all kinds of crap and junk. And it's like, man, these are real issues.
Yeah.
The issues of like, I really hope our next single gets picked up is dumb issues to stress about when there's people losing their marriages. There's people that can't pay their bills. There's people that are, I always just call them their shadow people. They show up to church and they hide in the shadows, and they don't understand how loved they are and the freedom that they can get because they don't want to talk to anybody because they're afraid people will know who they are. And I'm like, there's so much of that going around. And I'm over here complaining that someone didn't like my cool guitar riff in the bridge of that song. It's like, my priorities were not focused correctly. It was more selfish, if anything. So,
did you enjoy coming off the road and being a dad and a husband again? Did April like that?
Yeah, I loved it, and she did too. But we homeschool, or she homeschools. So me being home all the time, I bought so much bread and milk because she was kind of like, don't you need to run to the store and like get out of here? You're messing up the kids' school.
What did you love about that season?
Man, I just loved being home, taking the kids to ball games and just working at the church and going out to eat and buying groceries. And we watched TV shows together, which was awesome because I watched American Idol or The Voice with them, and I'd never watched that show with them because that's touring season. So I was always gone.
Okay, so we're going to turn a corner here, and you're jumping into that world again, though.
Yeah.
Is that a conversation with April of like, here we go again? Are you on board as much as I'm on board? I mean, what was...
So that
because we're on the front end of that right now,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just got off the first tour back at it. So that just kind of happened also. So I'm writing songs for the church and end up writing Say Hello with Jeff Pardo, who I wrote When Mercy Found Me with. And I called him up and I was like, hey dude, I've got an idea. And it kind of went with this new season. I was like, man, if at the end of the day, when everything falls apart, if it all hits the fan, you feel like you have nothing to stand on. As cliche and easy Sunday school as it sounds, like the one foundation we do have is Jesus. And that is how God sees us. Like the price is paid, it's done, it's over. So we no longer have to hold on to, did I make the right choice by putting that single out? Did I make the right choice by saying that? Did I make the right choice? What do people think about me as a dad? Did I live up to this as a mom? Like we're able to just be done with that and say hello to the brand new us, because none of that is gone. That doesn't matter. And so I told him the idea of this song that I needed the reminder of personally. And at the end of the day, like, this is all in the power of Jesus' name, And so he's like, yeah, let's write it. So I went to lunch with Blaine Barkus, my A&R guy, because the kids wanted to go to Winter Jam. And I was like, I've been out of it for a year and a half, but please tell me I don't have to wait in line outside the arena in the cold for that. Like, I'll pay $10, $15, but like, don't make me wait in line. So I got passes.
How was the relationship with the label and Blaine at that time?
It was great. Like when we had stepped out, everything was great.
Okay.
Everything was good with the label.
So there wasn't like a weirdness of like, I'm going to call him, but I don't know.
No. And
Okay.
we didn't even, me and Blaine didn't even talk about music. Like, we just talked about family and kids. And when we got backstage, my 13-year-old, she said, Dad, you should have never stopped doing this. Why did you stop doing this? And I kind of played it off as like, we're backstage. This is cool. It's way more glamorous than most of the time on these tours. She don't know that Winter Jam is a long tour, like, you know. So, but it stuck with me, and it just kept with me. And I asked her, because I drive her to youth on Wednesday nights, and with no other kids, like, that's just mine and her time.
Yeah.
So I was like, why did you say that? And what made you say that? She was like, Dad, you've always told me, like I was talking about earlier with my dad, to keep God first and pursue and push. Like, no one's going to give this to you. You've got to work for it. And she was like, people love to hear your stories and to hear you sing, and it's helped many people along the way. So why'd you stop? And I was like, man, that's so true. I got so caught up in like just the rhythms and trying to make sure it was right that I forgot the reason I did it to begin with. And I'm a storyteller, and that's what I want to be. And so wrote that, sent it to Blaine. I was like, man, I really think this is a cool song. And he was like, this is the next single. Like, this is what we're going with. So here we are. And so with that, my wife, we had this conversation. I was like, this is going back on the road. We're going to start booking shows again. And so she was like, yeah. She was like, this is what you're supposed to do. This is what we're supposed to do. And my wife's favorite line is, life's an adventure. And she reminds me of that because I'm the worrywart. So like, I'll be stressed about everything at the house. And she's like, life's an adventure. And let's just chase it. Let's go. So that's when they're like, hey, we've got a tour offer for you, April, May. And I was like, sweet. Crap. That's when we're having a baby. So my first tour back, we induced with our midwife. Bus gets home at 2 a.m. on the 23rd, 2.5 weeks ago. And I go straight to the hospital, and we have a baby at 2 in the afternoon. And so me and my wife we've just kind of been laughing, like, that's also us. Like, we had a whole year we could have, had a baby, which we know we wanted a fourth. We just didn't know if we wanted to adopt or have a fourth.
Okay.
I mean, we were practicing, but we didn't know we were playing the game. So I guess we won.
Came off the bench.
Yeah.
Any parameters in place this second time around? Was she like, hey, Thursday through Sunday, and that's it? Or anything like that at all? Or
No.
like, let's just...
No, but she told me I needed to have them because I easily can be a people pleaser. And so when you're dealing with people, I'm trying to keep the label happy. I'm trying to keep, these people happy and these people happy. And it's just not reality. And I was so worn out from doing that and just trying to keep everybody happy that I'd lost myself in that. And she was like, you, for lack of a better word, she's like, you got to be more of a diva this time. Like, it's okay to say no. It's okay to request certain things. So that's what I've worked on. I guess I've worked on being a diva, maybe.
It's okay to say no. Wow.
So, that's been my thing is like, these people aren't going to hate you if you say no. They're not going to be mad if you say no. Like, you've got to look out for yourself so that you can do your job better.
It's like your manager.
Yeah, I know. But she gets paid more than managers do.
Nice.
Because she takes like 100% of the money.
So EP's on its way, 6 songs. The music industry's changed. You're doing things differently. There's a different template. Are the 6 songs in the Rhett Walker wheelhouse? Are they, boy, this sounds like Rhett, or is like, okay, this is next season Rhett? How are you feeling about those?
This is the funnest record I've ever done.
Okay.
I've had a blast doing it. I tried to take all pressure off and just write songs. And so I've wrote probably 30 songs. These are like the top 6. And that's one of the things, like, me and my manager Jay, his main thing is like, let's just put it forward. And you know, you have the conversation like, do you save some if you do like a record? But the way people consume music, no, like just put the great stuff out, and like let's worry about what we put out next. So I wrote a song for my kids. It's called Like Your Father Does. And when I went in to write it for the kids, like the first verse is, you know, from the sound of your first cry, you made us a family. I love you. Ain't nobody gonna love you like your father does. And when I was writing that song, my dad called, and he was like, hey, your pawpaw has gone to the hospital, and it's not looking good. So the second verse became this whole thing of like, I won't always be around, but like our Heavenly Father is our Father who has loved us and came before us. And so the reason I'm telling you this story is it's got the feeling of Rhett Walker Band. It's a mature version because I'm now a dad of 4 kids. So it's talking about family and all that stuff. But my pawpaw, he ended up passing away. But my dad asked me to send the demo. So I sent the demo. They played it for him, like in the hospital bed. And he was always, my pawpaw was super proud of Rhett Walker Band. He'd always say, I don't know when you're going to give me one of them tapes to listen to. And so we'd always end up making him a tape. And then he would send it to the newspaper. And so the newspaper would then call me. And I was always doing interviews with the Shelby, North Carolina newspaper.
Oh, my.
He was proud of his son and his grandkids. And then they asked me to play it at his funeral. So it was, that song, it just means a lot for me, as it was God, our Heavenly Father, my pawpaw, my dad's dad, to my dad, who I've learned from, to now me being a dad. And so we're putting that out in June because of Father's Day. So why not? And I've written a devotional that kind of goes with it. Because another thing, devotionals, they kind of, for fathers, suck in my case, because they're always like, hey, when you get home tonight, take 5 minutes and read this with your kids. I'm not with my kids. And when I'm with my kids, I'm not going to sit down and read a devotional. Like, I want to play with my kids. Mm-hmm. So my whole thing is like, where's the practical, like, dad devo?
Okay.
You know, like just how to be a better man. And so got that coming out. And then, so that's the Rhett Walker Band kind of ballad. And then I did a song with Solly from Family Force 5. And it's kind of got this little thing to it, which is super fun. And I went in like just eyes wide open to whatever we did. It's called Peace in the Family. And it's about just kind of the state of the world we're in, and the fact that at the end of the day, love is always free. Peace is always free. And we can do that. But it was cool because he was like, hey, sing this guitar part in the mic. I was like, sing the guitar part? So it starts off like, oh, just kind of me singing. It's got this like dirty Southern thing to it that he put this like slide guitar on the bridge, but it meets Solly, you know, from Family Force 5. So it's got this like, I wish we had just started writing earlier because it was so much fun. So then there's other stuff on it. There's the massive, you know, rock songs. And
when's it come out?
Comes out in August,
okay.
But in June is Like Your Father Does, and then Peace in the Family in July.
You're doing this new model of singles.
Yeah, just putting out songs.
Okay.
You know, the main thing is fast food ain't fast enough for the consumer anymore. So it's like, it's the way people listen to music too.
Yeah. Last question, 31 now?
31.
What if 17-year-old Rhett is sitting across from you right now? And you could give him a piece of advice. Like, man, if I could, everything that you've learned in that season of time, give him a heads up about something, what would you tell him?
I would say keep your head up. It all works out. Mainly because of this. In every season of my life since 17, the one thing I work on as a 31-year-old is I lead with fear and anxiety. And it takes me so long to remember I just need to keep my head up. God's got this. And stay focused on that. I usually lead with fear. And that's a sucky place to lead with because you're worried, you're stressed, and I wasted so much time in my 20s worried about what? people thought, worried about did I do this the right way, and I'd make up scenarios in my head of like, they're gonna think I didn't like them because I said this, and you know the reality of it is at the end of the day, who cares? Like, keep your head up, trust yourself, honor God, and press on. And so as a 31-year-old, like that's what I'm trying to do now, because I'm looking at a 30. She turns. I'm not even gonna tell you because she'll beat me up. My wife's birthday is the 18th, and she is more gorgeous than she's ever been, and she's a killer mom, and we have a great family, and I got a 13-year-old, and everybody's healthy, and a music career. I get to do this for a living, come hang out with people like you. It's like, man, I wasted so much time just stressing. So keep your head up and press on.
Feels like a song.
Probably. I just got a melody. I press on. I press on.
I'm thinking that
press
old
on.
hold your head up. Yeah.
I was thinking of Building 429.
Sure you were.
I just got off tour with them.
Rhett C. Walker, because we're friends on Facebook. The C stands for?
Cool guy.
Guy.
I was going to put a K there because I only spell cool guy with a K, but Rhett K. Walker was taken. So
Okay.
tried to find that guy. Do you have the EP?
No. I've heard it in a van late one night back in when we were in Atlanta. There was a dark song you did on that thing, man.
Murder?
Yeah. I was like,
Yeah.
and I liked it because obviously that's not a radio song, but you did it because you felt you needed to.
Yeah.
You wrote it and whatever. Do I remember hearing chains and like or just real heavy
and then
words?
And there's chains, there's slide guitar, kind of starts like a Bon Jovi song.
Yes.
And then it gets into the woes and it's a massive chant
Yes.
thing. I am a murderer. I am the crowd. I am the one who held the nails and wrapped the shroud. I am the sword that pierced the side and the cold blood that trickled down. I am a murderer. I am the judge. I am as guilty as a sinner ever was. Yet I placed a crown of thorns on the blameless head of the King of Love. And I shouted, crucify, crucify. Now I cry, mercy, mercy. Yeah, I shouted, crucify, crucify. I am a murderer. I am the murderer. He is the cure. I am the soldier at his feet amongst the poor. And I now see he is the perfect Son of God. I am a murderer. And I shouted, crucify, crucify. Now I cry, mercy, mercy. I shouted, crucify, crucify. I am a murderer. Yeah, I shouted, crucify, crucify. Now I cry, mercy, mercy. Yeah, I shouted, crucify. I am a murderer.